Korma is a rich and luxurious dish where the meat or vegetables are braised in fat, yogurt and spices to produce a thick gravy. Today I will be showing you step by step how I make lamb korma, which turns out to be juicy, soft and extremely delicious. Namaskar and welcome to Curries with Pumbi. The very first thing that I will be doing is pureeing ginger and garlic. So I have taken 1 whole head of garlic, then ginger and 2 green chilies which are totally optional. All of them go into the blender jar along with 1/4 of a cup of water and gets blended to a smooth paste. Pot on medium-high heat. Korma recipes call for a generous use of oil or ghee. I used 1/3 of a cup of oil, but you do not have to stick to this proportion. So please adjust the proportion of oil according to your preference. Now before the oil turns hot, add the sliced onions. If you add onions to very hot oil, then the exterior of the onions will immediately turn brown and that will bring an initial visual happiness. But the outcome will make you very sad. We want the onions to brown up gradually to bring out their sweetness. So add the onions when the oil is barely warm. After adding the onions, you can start frying them on a medium-high heat. I also added a sprinkle of salt to help the onions brown up faster. When you start seeing the edges of onions starting to get this little brown color, bring down the heat to medium and start stirring very frequently so that all the onions brown up together. You want the onions to brown up, but you do not want them to turn too dark brown, as that will make the gravy bitter. When you see a graceful browning like this, switch off the heat of your stove and take out a little more than 1/2 of the onions, leaving the rest of the bit in the pot. Squeeze out as much oil as possible while taking them out. Spread out the onions onto a plate lined with paper towels and then forget about them for now as you will need them later on. Coming back to the pot, heat back on medium-low and we need these whole spices: dry bay leaves, cinnamon stick, 1 black cardamom for that smoky flavor, but if you do not have black cardamoms, do not worry too much about its absence. Then green cardamoms, few cloves, and a little bit of cumin seeds. All the whole spices dive into the pot. Stir on medium-low heat for a few seconds and then add the lamb. Here I would like to mention I always rub the meat with about 4 tablespoons of plain unflavored yogurt and leave it overnight in the refrigerator. What the yogurt does here is it tenderizes the meat and also takes care of any unpleasant odors, because I somehow do not like that strong smell of lamb. Okay, spread out the meat as much as possible so that it gets that maximum heat from the pan. Leave it like this on medium-high heat for a few minutes and then turn all the pieces so that the other side gets fried as well. After a few minutes, it's time to add the fresh ginger, garlic, green chili puree that we had made in the beginning. Stir everything on high heat till if any moisture that comes out from the meat dries up completely and the oil leaves the sides. Now what do you mean by oil leaving the sides? Like, see how that oil is separating? That's exactly what we are looking for. If you use less oil, you should be getting a drier kind of look, but there should be no water present there. Next, it's spice time. 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder, the sunshine of Indian cuisine. A tablespoon of Kashmiri red chili powder for that vibrant red color. Please add less to start with. You can always add later, but once added, it is very hard to pull out that heat. A tablespoon of ground coriander, 2 teaspoons of salt, and freshly cracked black pepper. Stir on medium heat for about 3 to 4 minutes. Next, I will do a step that I completely forgot. I will be pressure cooking this, so I should have started everything in my pressure cooker, but mistakes happen. So I am going to transfer all of this in my pressure cooker. Okay, all have entered the pressure cooker. Next, I added a heaped teaspoon of garam masala powder and a cup of hot water. If you do not want to use a pressure cooker, add 3 cups of water and simmer it on low heat, keeping it covered. Uncover from time to time. If you see the water is drying up but the meat has not turned tender, add more water and cook till the meat turns soft. The only difference between cooking in a pot and in a pressure cooker is that the meat gets cooked in 35 minutes in a pressure cooker, whereas in a pot it takes about an hour to an hour and a half. While the lamb is getting cooked, let's deal with the fried onions. In your blender jar, add half a cup of plain unflavored yogurt. Then I added a date for that sweetness. In fact, I used 2 dates. But my friends, please remember to take out the seeds from the dates before blending, or else the blades of your blender may get damaged and then the brown onions go in. You can make a rough puree, but I like it to be smooth. After 40 minutes of pressure cooking, switch off the heat and allow all that pressure to be released naturally, and then open the lid of your cooker. I still haven't switched on the heat. Add that onion yogurt paste that you've made. I added about a little more than half a cup of water to my blender jar to rinse out all the jar goodness. Next, add about 1/3 of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg and 1/3 of a teaspoon of ground mace. You want a thick gravy, so please do not add too much water. Cover and let it simmer away on low heat for 12 minutes. At the 6-minute mark, uncover, give a stir, do a taste test, and now is the time to add more chili powder if you want more heat, or add more salt if you find it to be less, or add a pinch of sugar if you find it to be too sour, but that's totally optional. Cover again for 6 more minutes. After 6 minutes, you will be greeted by this aromatic, delicious goodness. And if you like, you can add a teaspoon of Kyora water at this point for that real Mughlai kind of aroma. But I like korma without Kyora water because that nutmeg and mace brings in that subtle flavor which sometimes gets lost if Kyora water is added. Remove the bay leaves, cinnamon stick, black cardamoms, or whatever whole spices catches your eyes because you do not want that unnecessary drama at the table. And look at that thick, luscious gravy clinging on to each piece of meat. I sometimes allow everything to settle down, and that allows the oil to float on top, and then I skim that oil off. And I do not throw away that oil. No, I cannot do that. But I fry potatoes in it or use it for frying eggs. Serve this with naan, paratha or basmati rice and you will be really proud of yourself. Please smash that like button for me and help this video to reach out to more people. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.